Listen, look, I think we both know why we're here. Things haven't been okay between us for a really long time, and I think it's time we move on. But I want you to know that it's not you, it's me. I need to see other dashboards. I need to see what else is out there. I gotta see what else there is before I settle down with one dashboard for the rest of my life. And I know that somewhere out there, there's the right person for you. And when you find them, you're gonna be really happy that we did this. There's something else too. I wanna be honest with you. I've been seeing another dashboard. You remember that outage that we had last week? I was seeing that dashboard then, and I really loved it. It was like things used to be between us. Hey, what's up? I'm Will Button from DevOps for Developers, and today we're talking about dashboards. And I know that like when you make dashboards, you know, you've seen some examples and you're thinking, oh man, we can do this and we can do that, and you can make these huge mammoth dashboards and just get all kinds of crazy and add all these different features. And to be honest though, you don't need all of that. And if I want to be really honest with you, no one's actually going to use it either. I've been to many companies where I've walked through their office with them, and I walk past these TVs hanging on the wall that are either turned off or just have a blank screen on them, and I'll ask, hey, what's up with the TV up there? And they'll say, oh yeah, that was our KPI metrics dashboard, but the power went out, or it lost network access, or it crashed, or whatever the reason happens to be. And they say, yeah, we just kind of got tired of turning it back on or resetting it or whatever. And so I'm actually going to save you thousands of dollars here, thousands of dollars from buying those TVs and having electricians come and install power in the wall, and the time and energy you're going to spend creating those dashboards, just because they look cool at first, but they're not useful over the long term for your business. If you want to spend thousands of dollars, I'm going to tell you to go and buy a black velvet dogs playing poker painting, because it's much more enjoyable. Well, now that I've crushed your hopes and dreams about becoming the world's foremost dashboardification expert, let me actually tell you about some of the things that dashboards can be useful for and that future you will thank you for doing. Most of the time, dashboards are used in the heat of the moment when you've got to figure out the who, what, when, why, and where of something is happening, most likely related to an outage. Throughout my career, most of the time I've been using dashboards. It's because you're sitting in your living room in the middle of the night wearing your pajamas while your neighbors are next door doing keg stands, playing Motley Crue's Girls, Girls, Girls on repeat. And so you've got to be focused at that point, because you're not really on your A game when you just get rolled out of bed like that. So it's important to have dashboards that are effective and simple and meaningful. So when you create your dashboards, they should be pretty specific in their focus. You know, you should have a dashboard that's specific to a microservice or specific to a particular function or feature in your app. And then when you think about that feature, you want to think about, what are the key things I need to know about this? If we use an API as an example, the things we want on a dashboard are the overall throughput, the number of success responses, the number of error responses, and the rate of those. And it's going to be that rate that really gives us meaningful information. You know, if you have 2,000 requests per second coming through an API, but your error rate changes from 0.1% to 10%, you can't really see that with just the actual throughput. You've got to measure the rate as well. If it's possible, you also want to include your logs on there as well. Especially if you're looking at like an error rate or something, the ability to see the error messages right there in the same screen is really helpful. If you have a dashboard or you have a logging system where you can't display them within the dashboard, you can at least include a link so that while you're on the dashboard, you can just click the link and get over to your logs. Which takes me to the next point. If you develop these really hyper-focused dashboards, you're probably going to have a lot of dashboards in your environment. And so finding them can be really challenging. You know, there's this saying in computer science, the 3 hardest things in computer science are naming things and off by 1 errors. So whenever you have to go and find a particular dashboard, it can be really difficult to look through all of these dashboards and just try to decide which one is right for you from the title. So what I like to do is all of my environments are alert driven, meaning we have our monitoring system that's monitoring it. It's set to alert at certain thresholds. When that threshold is breached, it sends off an alert, and in the alert you can put in what the alert is and some relevant metrics about it. And then I also include in there a link to the dashboard that's associated with that alert. So if it's a particular microservice that's alerting, I'll include the alert details, you know, why it alerted, and then a link to the dashboard for that microservice so that when it's in the middle of the night and I'm still groggy and not thinking clearly, I don't have to go find this dashboard. It's right there on my phone or on my laptop, wherever I got the alert, and I click it and I'm right at the information that I need to see. Let's talk about the things that your dashboard need to be effective. All right, we mentioned the throughput earlier and the rate as well, such as your error rate or your success rate. So whenever we talk about throughput, it's meaningful to have the overall number, but it's only meaningful in terms of how many of those are successful or not. We also need to talk about latency for API type metrics, or things that respond within a certain amount of time, and that the amount of time that they respond in impacts the behavior of the things that are dependent on it. So like an API, for example. And it's easy to just group your latency into one bundled metric that says like average latency or the 95th percentile or something. Instead, I'm going to recommend that you break this up into buckets, into like a histogram style graph, because what happens is if you have just a small percentage of API calls that are excessively long, like 5 or 10 seconds, if your throughput's high enough, that may not influence the 95th percentile or the 99th percentile or your average very much, but it could be the root cause, the very thing that's causing your outage. And so when you break it up into a histogram, you can see exactly how many requests are falling into which latency bucket, and it gives you a much more accurate picture of what's really happening within the application. You also want to include some saturation metrics on there, and by saturation I mean like CPU utilization or CPU load. Sometimes load is a little more indicative of what the CPU is actually doing than utilization is. And take a look at your memory utilization as well. Is your memory completely consumed, or more importantly, is it memory utilization at a different level now than what it was prior to the incident or whatever reason you're looking at the dashboard has started. If you're using Java or something like that that has a JVM, you may want to expose and graph some JVM metrics on garbage collection, heap utilization, and things like that as well. And then finally, you may have to include some business metrics in there as well, some things that are specific and unique to your company that are meaningful to you when you're dealing with outages or incidents. Speaking of which, I'll throw a link up here to my video on how to manage on-call incidents or outages and production issues like that. If you haven't spent a lot of time on call, check that out. It's got some really good tips in there for making your on-call and outage management experience a little bit easier. So some of the business-specific metrics that may be relevant to you might be things like number of sign-ins, failed login attempts, number of transactions processed for like credit card transactions or things like that. You know, just different metrics that could tell you a little something about what's going on behind the scenes. So like if you've got an API server that's handling your user signups, for example, and then you're tracking the number of credit card transactions for whoever your third-party credit card processor is, put that metric up there, and if you see the number of failed transactions from the credit card provider spike, that could be an indicator that the problem is with the credit card provider and not anything actually in your infrastructure itself. So think about that. Think about what the external dependencies are and the metrics specific to your application that might be useful when you're using a dashboard in a troubleshooting scenario. So your dashboard is also a great place to put links to the documentation for your applications and your repos. Whether you keep your documentation in a wiki or in README files or shared Google Drives, doesn't really matter. In your dashboard, you can put a link to it so that while you're looking at the dashboard trying to understand what's going on, you can link right to the documentation and even to specific sections of the documentation. You know, if there's a scenario where you're like, oh, hey, if you see this getting high, it could be this. Link over to this documentation. It walks you through step by step, the things that you need to check, the places you need to access, and other resources like that. Helps keep your dashboards clean, but also gives you a place where you can provide extensive, detailed notes on how to resolve something or how to get additional information in resolving an incident. And then the last thing I want to tell you about dashboards is make sure that it includes a way to track things that aren't reporting in as well. For example, if you've got a service that's completely dead and it pushes metrics to your monitoring system, well, if it's completely dead, it's not pushing any metrics over. So is your alerting and monitoring system going to identify that there should be data coming in, but there's not data coming in? And just to recap everything here, like cool dashboards are really, really cool, but they're usually not as effective. And the main purpose of a dashboard is to help you filter and sort through all the events that are happening in your environment to help guide you towards the source of a problem, because dashboards are mainly used in incident management and incident resolution. So you want to build your dashboards tailored to that effect. Keep them clean, keep them simple, and keep them with just the meaningful metrics that will tell you the facts that you need to know about your environment. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have other dashboard metrics or dashboard techniques that you use, hit them up in the comments below. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are. And be sure and click the subscribe button so that you will be notified when I release new videos each week. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.